अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशेर् यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. In this webinar, we are going to consider the question, which is more important, inner victory or outer victory? Spirituality has always endeavored to show that inner victory, if you really get it, is far superior to outer victory. 95 out of 100 people supposedly walking the spiritual path, alas, may not have true inner victory. Therefore, people may find them sorrowful or not truly happy or energetic or peaceful. People from a distance may say, what spirituality? I have a cousin, I have a sister, I have somebody who is very spiritual but always morose and very moody, has lots of mood swings or this or that. Of what use is that spirituality, and so on. We are going to consider not only individually but collectively also. I would once more say with all conviction, collectively also, if there is true spirituality, that group becomes invincible. That group will have a very different story to tell. So, outer victory is in terms of having more money, having more power, having everybody officially and openly being under us, listening to us. So, when the British were ruling India, the British had outer victory over India. And they did enjoy that power, and they exploited all these colonies, and the details are available at many places. However, were they truly happy, and were Indians truly sad? Interestingly, it was during the British time that great enlightened souls like Shri Ramakrishna in the 19th century, the champion of bhakti, and Shri Ramana Maharshi in 20th century, the champion of self-inquiry, both shone on the spiritual firmament. Outer power, even between two individuals, is again a matter of, in this setting, who has to listen to whom. Somebody is in the position of a boss, but inner victory is even the boss knows that the person who is the subordinate has certain dimension to his life which the boss himself would envy. In order to throw light on this superiority of inner victory over outer victory, we are going to use in this session of the webinar a verse from a certain work called Shri Ramana Hridayam. This Shri Ramana Hridayam is the Sanskrit rendering by Shri Lakshmana Sarma of the original Tamil work Ulladu, nārpadu, 40 verses on reality. Many of you, if not all, are familiar with that great work Saddarshanam, which is also a Sanskrit rendering by Ganapati Muni of the same original Ulladu, nārpadu. Nārpadu means 40, Ulladu means what really is the ultimate truth. So, we would say that the verse that we are going to pick up from this work, Shri Ramana Hridayam, which is also called Revelation. Incidentally, as this slide shows, I hope all are able to see, at the bottom of the cover page, his name is given K. Lakshmana Sarma, and he had a pen name, and that pen name was Who? Who am I? So he took the pen name Who. Now, Vasishta Ganapati Muni's Saddarshanam is in a meter which is much shorter. Each pada has only 11 syllables. So 11 into 4, 44 syllables. One shloka is over. In contrast, Lakshmana Sarma's Shri Ramana Hridayam, which also renders all the 40 verses into Sanskrit and adds one or two before and later, runs into 19 syllables in each pada, quarter. So 19 into 4, 76. So almost double the size. Incidentally, the meter Shardula Vikridita that you find in this Shri Ramana Hridayam is the same, as many of you know, is the meter of Sri Dakshinamurti Stotra. Think of Sri Dakshinamurti Stotra. Some of you may be chanting the way I will show now. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam, and so on. Same way I can recite this shloka, which we are going to study now. Etasmin ahamakyake samudite sarvam jagat chodiyat. At the end you have in Dakshinamurti Stotra, Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Here you have Ityevam Nijamarganam Bhavati Yat Tat Sarvahanam Bhavet. Just to show you that once you recognize the meter, Chandas is the same, 20 tunes that apply to the first book also go well with the second book. Many tunes are possible. This verse 31 in this Shri Ramana Hridayam corresponds to verse 28 in Saddarshanam. The verse 28 there is short and sweet. Bhavehamas sarvamidam vibhati layehamo naiva vibhati kinchit tasmat sarvamidam aham rupamidam samastam tanmarganam sarvajayaya margaha. Short and crisp, but then the work of Sri Lakshmana Sarma running to a greater length is not without its benefits. I would not go long on this, but would like to say that it is on record that Maharshi Ramana himself, looking at Lakshmana Sarma's rendering, expressed the view that this does better justice to what I had in mind. So sometimes, therefore, you take a few more words, employ a longer meter, it is quite rewarding. So this verse highlights the supremacy of inner victory over any form of outer victory. Once this Ganapati Muni went on a small hill and was doing some upasana, probably in the 1943-44 or maybe before, because Ganapati Muni passed away a few years before Maharshi Ramana. So in British ruled India, Ganapati Muni got perturbed and he was doing some Devi Upasana to expedite India's freedom from the British. And Maharshi Ramana called him and said, "Your Swadharma is different. You are cut out for something else. Leave that. You go deeper into self-inquiry. If you succeed in this self-inquiry, that success will include the good of the country, the well-being of the country, and not the other way around. If the country becomes independent and the minds of the citizens are in shackles, how sad it is." So the inner victory is, if only we get into the depth of it, is very comprehensive. Outer victory will become a subset of it. Lakshmana Sarma took ulladu nārpadu of Tamil and put it in Sanskrit. That's how you have Shri Ramana Hridayam. Now, without going far, we will just see the way the shloka unfolds. Let me recite the whole shloka just once. Etasmin ahamakyake samudite sarvam jagatchodiyat no chedastyahamityayam nacha bhavati etat jagat kinchana tatsarvam hyahamakhyaka swayamatah kosau kutas sambhavet ityevam nijamarganam bhavati yat tatsarvahanam bhavet. So look at the last part. Sarvahanam bhavet. Sarva means all. All your problems will be gone. Sarvahanam. All your problems will make an exit if you inquire who it is who has this agitation, who it is who has this conflict, this suffering. Who is this? Whence is he? As the translation goes, we get at total victory. Ganapati Muni puts it, Sarva Jayaya Margaha. This is the way to all-round victory. Sarva Jayaya. Lakshmana Sarma puts it, Sarvahanam Bhavet. So in this slide, I am just placing before you the first quarter, Pada 1. Etasminnahamakhyake samudite. Udaya itself means rising. Samudaya, samudite. Aham akhyake. The significance of this akhyake is, akhya means name. If you call somebody as Ramesh, I am Purushaha, Ramesh Akhyaha. Akhya, his name. This man is somebody with the name Ramesh. Ramesh Akhyaha. So this thing is, as the translation goes, and this thing known as I. Why do you want to go around about this thing known as I? Why don't you just say I? No, this actually doesn't deserve to be called I. But it is our tragedy that what is not true I is referred to as I and is having a big time, going good. Whereas what truly is I is watching quietly. Anashnan anyo abhichakashiti. As Mundakopanishad says, the second bird, saying nothing, consuming nothing, looks at the first bird, but then the radiant face of the second bird tells it all. So this thing, referring to ahankara, is called this thing known as I, which is not the true I. When this thing known as I is risen, then all this world arises. Sarvam jagatcha udiyat. Like those of you who know a little Sanskrit, kuryat, bhuyat, you have. So udiyat, would arise. The whole world would arise when this little I arises. And we do not generally notice that this I has risen and is up to its mischief. Now, this whole world, what is the significance? Please don't think the world here means so much the stars and the planets or the hills and rivers and oceans and objects of this earth. They too are included, but in spirituality, what is of more significance is when there is this I, then my financial loss, then I having failed in a certain venture, I not being so popular as I was 5 years ago, or equally, I am today on top of the world. All this is the world. In other words, the psychological world of self-evaluation, self-labeling. I'm good, I'm bad, I lost, I won. This is the world. As Corona is making the whole world miserable, you and I too at times are scared. What will happen? And we are agitated, sometimes about ourselves and many times about people in the world. Maybe some distant person in UK or USA for Indians, or maybe somebody right in your own neighborhood here in India, if you are an Indian living in India. Like yesterday, I saw a short video of a nurse, I guess in USA, a black young lady. She's sobbing, she's crying. Nothing has happened to her directly, but seeing people dying in her hospital, she is unable to control herself and she says, "This is real, this is real, please stay home, don't take this for granted." I see people coming. They come one day and the next day they are gone. In 2 days they are gone, she says, and terrible. So, whether it is others who are suffering and we then feel, others who are dying and then we feel, or we ourselves have nothing to eat, nothing to wear, we ourselves have no job, and therefore we are suffering. In higher spirituality, the so-called others and we ourselves are no different. You know why? As simple as both these are thoughts. Caught in the realm of thought, caught in the cage of thought, you are sorrowful. Freed from the cage of thought, you are released, you are relieved. Therefore, Maharshi is never tired of showing that the rise of the limited I, which is a bundle of memories, which is a bundle of labels that we put upon ourselves, the rise of this limited I and the rise of the world, my world, this terrible world. Sometimes we say this mad, mad world. Some other time we say this beautiful creation of God. We have 100 things to say about the world, but higher spirituality points out, if only you think about it, the world is a projection of thoughts. Whether it physically is or not, the world that you perceive, the world that you are experiencing is certainly through the medium of your thoughts. You have happy thoughts, then a terrible world around will not affect you. And great people have walked on this earth, have moved through very challenging situations with tremendous peace in their bosom, being compassionate, being very sensitive, understanding the suffering of people and doing their best, sometimes moving mountains to help them all. They in their bosom had a very interesting, it's very interesting, it looks like a contradiction, but they had peace in their bosom. I think around the time of partition, just as an offhand example, you had Sadhu T.L. Vaswani. No, he was a saint. He was a spiritual person. And T.L. Vaswani, with the peace of his satsang, of his thought of God, could just sit somewhere and say, well, what can I do about this world? No, on the contrary, he went around and he rehabilitated, I don't know how many, several hundreds of thousands of people from Sindh, where from he too was. And he continued, carried on. He was a man of service, very visibly. People like Ramana and Ramakrishna also devoted their life to great service of humanity, but not so easily visible. Somebody would think, what is he doing? He's just sitting whole day on a rock, on a chair, on a couch, and so on. But if you go close and examine, people like Shri Ramakrishna or Shri Ramana actually sent out vibrations. They influenced a number of visitors who came to them in such a way that those visitors, when they went back to their fields of action, made a big difference. They drew peace. They drew from the fountain of Ramana and of Ramakrishna to take it to the world, and it showed in their actions. So here we have Aham Akyake Samudite Sarvam Jagatcha Udiyat. Now the next line says, Pada 2, No Ched. Suppose the eye does not arise. Your eyes are open, you are seeing everything, but you are not in the clutches of memories. You are not either pitying yourself, self-pity is a terrible thing, nor are you thinking high about yourselves. So no high, no low. Then what does one think of oneself? We are, we are, stuck with the notion that we always have to have a thought about who we are. These Mahatmas say it is possible to live vibrantly. It's possible to live with all enthusiasm, with no thought about who you are. Of course, here we make a distinction. Functional thought is welcome. Your daughter comes and says, tell me who you are. You will say, oh dear, I am your mother. That is functional. But those other judgmental stuff, I have not been a good mother to you, or I have been such a wonderful mother, it must be good fortune for you to get a mother like me. These are the psychological side. So, a calm, silent mind always brings forth what one is functionally without the ugly head of the psychological I, the self, little self rising over there. So, no ched asti aham iti ayam. Ayam aham iti na asti ched. Neither does the world arise. The world too doesn't arise. This is the most wonderful thing, how ahankara and this conflict-ridden world rise together. If ahankara subsides, the world will have no power to tyrannize you. However, as we have already said, you are extremely aware of what's going on, and you know, and you will laugh when it is the right thing to do, and you will have tears when it is the right thing to do. Right responses come from you, and that is of a different quality than the crying or laughing of egoistic people. So, neither does the world rise, is said here. And that is how na chedat astyahamityayam na cha bhavati etat jagad api kinchana na bhavati. And now Pada 3 says, what do we learn from all this? What is the take home lesson? What do we take home? It is said in the Sanskrit, tat sarvam hi ahamakyakaha swayam. So all this joy and sorrow, this celebration and mourning, this negative moments of ours where we feel we have been such a failure, where we wonder, where did I go wrong? Is it my purva karma? Or is it something wrong I did this morning? Is it of last life? Or is it recent errors? Or something is missing, and so on. All that actually is a phenomenon that revolves around rising of the I. Since in the absence of I, this kind of world doesn't appear, we can jolly well say this world is this I only. When this I rises, all of them comes. Therefore, practically it is this I which is all this world. So this is the statement of very many mystics who say to us, you are the world. They don't say you are in the world. You are the world. For your thoughts present to you your world. The world really, God knows what it is. But the world I perceive is how my mind interprets it. The world you perceive is as per the interpretation of your mind. Swayam, ahamakyakaha swayam tat sarvam. Therefore, we must inquire. We must ask, the two questions are given here. Who is this and whence is he? Kosau, kaha asau. Who is this? So next time you and I feel frightened, it is worthwhile taking a couple of minutes aside and ask this question. All right, we will do what can be done about this frightening scenario, but who is afraid? Who is this? Kosau. And if we have studied carefully, if we have imbibed, if we have got an inkling of the intricacies of this subject, quite easily, let me assure you, we will discover that behind the fear that I am experiencing, there are many conditionings in me. My attachment to my property, my attachment to my name, my attachment to my house, my children, my attachment to my image, and so on. These are all thoughts. It's possible to have an expensive car being attached to it as well as being not attached to it. It's possible to have 2 or 3 wonderful children, daughters or sons or both, and that is what spirituality teaches us. It's possible for us to be very attached to them or be detached and not irresponsible. On the contrary, when we are truly detached, we give to them the best advice, the best company, the best, what you may call, guidance, because our mind is free from attachment, which sort of colors the perception. So who is me? Who am I? Kosau. Kutas sambhavet. How does this arise? In no way Maharshi is asking us to sit down and do an analysis. On the contrary, if you are quietly watching, it will speak to you. Your ahankara will open itself. It will lay itself threadbare before you, and you will see. That is called not self-knowledge with an uppercase S, but self-knowing with a lowercase s. You know your complexes. You know your laziness. You know what triggers you on. You know what depresses you and disturbs your good mood. You know how you are made. That is called self-knowing. And that self-knowing is facilitated by who am I and who is this, or whence is he, from where, from when, and so on. That is the wonderful pointer in this third pada of the shloka. We will cover the fourth pada and a couple of comments before I open this for questions and answers. The fourth pada says, well, in the light of this, evam nijamarganam bhavati. Nija means oneself. In Sanskrit, nija means oneself. Suppose you say nija graha, that is your own house. So nija is your own. So nija marganam, you inquire into margana, your own true nature. Then sarvahanam bhavati, the entire world goes away. Goes away meaning does not anymore depress you or frighten you, but it will be available for your objective understanding, and right responses just happen. You see and you will do what needs to be done. There is no question of becoming lazy or indifferent or insensitive or turning a blind eye and turning deaf ears to problems of the world. No, a true saint is the last person to do that. Outwardly, people may misunderstand him or her. They may be sitting quietly. But really, if one is truly, at a height of spirituality, whether it is Anandamayi Ma, or nowadays you have Amritanandamayi Ma, you have Satya Sai Baba, and many of these unbelievable mystics of such heights that you and I cannot imagine. They would be sitting quietly, but they would know 1,000 times more than what you and I know. And so many powers in them also are awake. And you find in the stories of that born saint of Bengal, Anandamayi Ma, as she is seated in a bhajan, halfway suddenly she gets up and says, Khayal, that was the word she uses. A call has come to me, a thought calling me somewhere has come. And halfway through the bhajan, accompanied by her husband, who was a team manager, she would go many miles and visit somebody. And they would then find that somebody is on his deathbed and he had sincerely prayed to Ma. And the mother went, holding his hand, blessing him. She makes his exit from this world much easier. She showers her blessings. So we need not go into all the supernatural powers. Even talking about the matter in a simple, basic way, you see, when we are free of false attachment, prejudice, for or against anybody, any community, any language, any region, any race, etc., when our mind is pure, then the world is totally different. That world is something, in a manner of saying, it's something that we have conquered. And in its extreme language, it is said there is no world for me. So, sarvahanam. Now just a couple of comments in the context of COVID-19. Corona, V, virus, and D, disease. COVID-19, in this matter also, without becoming irresponsible or unscientific or insensitive, while doing all that we can, it is highly worthwhile, highly beneficial for you and me to look after the inner journey. The spare time, the free time that we may get at this lockdown period has to be used to be more regular, to begin with in physical exercise, pranayama and so on, to be more regular in study and contemplation on God, on spiritual truths. No matter how busy we get, take 10 minutes break here and there and lovingly remember God, or meditate on the pure self, or as this verse put it, inquire, who am I really? If tomorrow Corona is going to take my life, so to say, who actually will be dying? Who actually will be leaving this earth? What will actually happen to me? So look at things from broader angles of view, not just fancy or not mere imagination, but from the knowledge that you have gathered from proper scriptural study. And that is not just fancies, that is not just kalpanas, that is reality which the mystics saw, rishis saw. And we are blessed that even in this century there are a few walking this earth. Last century there were many. 19th century, every century there have been and there are masters, great ladies, great men on this very earth who are breathing that very highest wisdom. So it is not just some fanciful word structures. It's not just talking and talking or some show. Though there are many who just run a show. That is, sad. But then for 90 people who may be running a show, a tamasha, spirituality also becomes a tamasha. There are 10, or if not 10, there are 5 who have that vision. That vision somehow, that realization somehow repeats in every century, if not every decade and so on. Yet another enlightened being comes between us, amidst us, and shows us the path, shows us the direction. So here we are. The spiritual teachings do have a close connection with even the prevalent condition of COVID-19 as we are talking in April 2020 here. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. So, as always, let's see if there are some questions. My picture came now only on my screen. When I clicked on attendees, and here now, here is the list. So let me start from top. Okay, on top we have a text question by Annapurna Pandey. Thank you, Swamiji, for the illuminating lecture. I wanted to ask about the word conquer. You said we have to conquer our feelings and sentiments. I was wondering, isn't it a negative word to begin with? How should we take care of our moods and motivations to understand our true self? Oh, thank you for saying that. I personally am not very fond of this word conquering, but it is believed that a lot of people in our audiences are more comfortable with this kind of military language. But I hasten to clarify, this conquering is not the usual conquest over somebody where there is subjugation, where sometimes there is bloodshed also and all that. Certainly not. Conquering is in the sense of, our no more being at their mercy. So a mood, a feeling, a sentiment kind of throws me off balance. That's terrible. So conquering here is to be free of that kind of slavery. And therefore, I myself generally prefer the word, how do we understand our moods, emotions, sentiments, and how do we come to terms with them? How do we not get carried away by temporary moods or motivations and so on? So yeah, it has a slight negativity in that word conquer, but I use it once in a while because I realize my audiences have some utter beginners too, and for them the gentle, refined choice of words sometimes is a bit hard. So we use analogies. This conquer is more in the analogical style, just as we talk of conquering Mount Everest. So Mount Everest, we have not conquered, we are nowhere before it. But even just to go to the peak, go to the top of Mount Everest, is referred to by some authors, conquest of Mount Everest and so on. So yes, I agree with you. So now we see A.R. Ganti as a text question. Is it fair to say only, ask who am I, but do not answer the question? The answer will be felt or supplied intuitively, right? Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, any answer that comes up is the expression of some conditioning. Therefore, this who am I inquiry is unique. Rather than being in a hurry to grab an answer, we must be extremely alert. And as an answer arises, put it to query, put it to questioning again, and it is bound to fall. So one by one, answers rise, they look convincing for a while, then collapse. And when there is no more answer coming forth from the conscious mind, from even the subconscious mind, verbally, picture-wise, no such thing comes, as you put in your own question. The true answer comes forth intuitively, which is not any structure bound by some verbal description. Well said. Dayagummi says, pranams. Sundarajan Krishnan says, in practice, do we rhetorically ask in our mind the question, who am I, to every thought that arises to get our attention back to the I thought? Is this the correct way to practice self-inquiry, or should it be a more natural process? See, at any given point of time, our practice follows the level of our understanding. Our practice at a given point of time is in accordance with our spiritual maturity. Therefore, to rhetorically ask, who am I, is how many of us begin, or how we had begun. But as there is increased study, increased contemplation, increased examination of the nature of this sadhana, we ourselves realize how the words, who am I, nan, yar, or whatever language, the words have very little significance. It is a query, it is a search. It is therefore more and more remaining silent and looking at the play of the mind and bursting, as you have the debugging software. So here you have a notion arises. Somebody may sit and think, now I have so much money. Nobody made so much money in my town over there. Something like that. I am great. So the mind is playing that game. The inquirer looks at that thought and, in a manner of describing, smiles and says, oh, really? Just because there is some money, do I become a great fellow? Does money make anybody great by itself? One questions. And that question also need not be in words. It is silent gazing. Therefore, let me sum up my answer saying that the verbal nature slowly takes a back seat, and non-verbal way of inquiring, and a non-verbal movement of intelligence. We are deep inside, we are intelligence. Chit is intelligence. This pure intelligence in us, less and less obstructed by words, by thoughts, less and less obstructed, that intelligence shines forth and it removes our false eye. So a more natural process comes into being with on one hand practice, on the other study and discussing with the people who are in that field and so on, with more learning, in other words. So we have, let's see. Looks like there is no, there is one by Vijaya Lakshmi. Let me check. Vijaya Lakshmi says, I think I is a bundle of upadhis. As you start peeling each upadhi, you reach the zero level. Is this the right understanding, Swamiji? I'm afraid the usage of the word upadhi is a bit incorrect. In Vedanta, we use the word upadhi for what may be expressed in English as equipment. The body is an upadhi. My eyes, my ears is an upadhi. In fact, I'm wearing a jacket. This is an upadhi that I have put on. So, glasses are an upadhi. Antakarana, mind, intellect are all upadhis. So, upadhis are certain factors which then make possible self-judgment. If I think that my jacket is good, I may feel good about me. I'm looking so nice today and so on. My thought. The whole town may think what a horrible jacket he's wearing. But if I think, therefore the jacket itself is not responsible for this. That peeling is a good example you have given. Peel. But we don't peel upadhi really. We peel our judgment, our attachment, or some conclusion we draw. I have an expensive car of mine standing outside my bungalow, and I look at it through the window and again say, I've come a long way in life. There was one time even a two-wheeler was difficult for me. Today I have a BMW parked outside. No, the BMW car is an upadhi. That is not, I don't have to peel it. In self-inquiry, this idea that as the owner of a BMW, I have come a long way and I am a big fellow now, that has to be peeled. Therefore, what you say is so perfect, but I'm afraid upadhi is a factor revolving around which certain I thought gets constructed. Either a negative I thought, I am so low and hopeless fellow, or a positive. So this high and low about who I am feeds on that upadhi. The upadhi itself doesn't have to be peeled. We have to take off such conclusion. Let me continue to have the BMW, nothing wrong with it. but let me not unnecessarily carry a thought of holier than thou or more successful than her or him. So that kind of being free from ego. That's it. Then we have Shiv Kumar. Let me. This also is a text question, I think. Yeah. Thanks for another wonderful talk. Enjoy. Oh, thank you. Thank you too. Yes. That's about. So with this, we close. I'm going to present a webinar tomorrow at 6 p.m. Indian time, following an invitation by Madras Management Association. All of you will be getting an email about it. For those in California, it may be too early, 5:30 a.m. But other places and in India, the topic also is there in the email. It's about EQ and SQ, emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence. If some of you are inclined, you may log in there. There are ways how to get in, Zoom and YouTube and Facebook and some live IBC, 4 ways to enter that webinar if you wish to. Vibhaji, I think any question is left out, right?
Yeah. Don't think.
Yeah. All right. Namaste. Hari Om.